Square root multiplication advanced. I have provided two different examples because there's going to be two types of answers that you'll be getting in this particular topic. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and we need to break these down first to make life a little bit easier. Now, if you've picked up the TI-36X Pro, the calculator that I suggested, when you put in just the square root 32 in there, it'll actually simplify it down for you. And I'll kind of talk more about that here in a minute. But let's say that you didn't pick up that calculator and you're needing to break this down. So what we need to do is we need to remember that we have to have a perfect square root and a number together that would get us 32. So if we look at this, the numbers that we could have, or we would need, is 16 times 2. 16 being that perfect square, and 2, of course, 16 times 2 gets us that 32 here. Okay, so knowing that, now that we've got this perfect square root kind of separated, if you will, we're going to be taking that outside the radical. So the square root of 16 is 4. And I'm going to put it here in parentheses. I'm going to bring down my 3. And then I'm going to keep my 2 underneath the radical. So now I'm going to take 3 times 4. And of course, if you were using the calculator would have given you 4 square root of 2. Okay, so this is the part where I kind of remind you that if you had that tool, it would kind of help a little bit in this process. So, of course, you'd still have to multiply by 3. So while we've got that cool tool, we still have to do a little bit of work. Okay, so 3 times 4 is, of course, 12, square root of 2. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 54. I'm going to kind of bring down this multiplication sign for a second. And again, we need to have a perfect square and another number that multiply together to get us this 54. Well, 9 times 6 gets us 54. Okay, and 9, of course, is the perfect square. And so we've got 3, square root of 6. I'm going to kind of bring that down here, because we didn't have a number in front here to multiply it by. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we need to multiply the whole numbers that are in front of the radicals. So 12 times 3 gets us 36. And then we multiply what's underneath the radical. So 2 times 6 gets us the square root of 12. Okay, now typically everybody stops and they go on, they put the answer in, but unfortunately you always want to check at the very end. With this radical sign, it may already be as simple as it can be, but it may not. And in this case, the 12 can still be broken down. So what we must do is we need to, of course, figure out a perfect square that can go into that, which would be 4 times 3. And the square root of 4 is 2. Bring down our square root of 3. And then 36 times 2 gets us 72 square root of 3. Okay, so of course this is one example that we have. Here's our other example, the other type of answer that you'll see in this topic. You're still doing the same process. We want numbers that when multiplied together would get us 32, but include a perfect square. So again, this is 16 times 2. How convenient for us. And of course, square root of 16 is 4. square root of 2. I'm going to bring this 3 down for the time being. And we need numbers that multiply together to get us 96 that end up factoring down. This one's a little bit more challenging, isn't it? So if I'm thinking correctly, I think it is 49 times 2 will get us the 98, but 49 is the perfect square. So the square root of 49 is 7, leaving us just 2 underneath the radical. And I would take 3 times 7, which is 21. I'm bringing everything else down to make things clear for us. Again, you're going to be taking the whole numbers and multiplying them together. So 21 times 4 gets us 84. And then we're taking what's underneath the radical and multiplying it together. So we get the square root of 4. And the square root of 4 can be simplified even more, which of course it is 2. So then we're going to take the 84 times 2, and in this case we end up getting a whole number as the answer. Okay, so Alex will rotate between you having an answer with a radical and one with just a whole number.